welcome to Daybreak Africa. Thanks for joining us this morning. My name is Miracle Odunayo.
My name, as usual, is Joshua Odeji. You're welcome once again to Daybreak Africa from our studio in Ondo State, which happens to be the sunshine state of the nation. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. So the show of just joining us is still Daybreak Africa. And yes, it's one of those days where we have to look into a discussion that many people are shying away from in Nigeria today. Today we'll be looking at Nigeria's modern democracy, and like I tagged it the politics of hate, tribalism, and disunity, which has become the characteristics of the modern democracy we experience in Nigeria. If we take it back to 2011, 2015, 2019, most especially 2023, which happens to be the election that brought in the current administration, you will discover that gradually we have disintegrated into a system which politics with hate, religious bigotism, bigotry, actually not bigotism, bigotry, and we also have tribalism, ethnocentrism, disunity as a fulcrum in our political space. If you look at what is happening across Nigeria today, especially if you go on Twitter, go on Facebook, go on TikTok, and you begin to hear the comments from multiple sects in Nigeria, you begin to discover people who say hurtful things all in the name of you are not supporting my candidate, which is gradually becoming something that if the country does not take note of and begin to do things against it, our next electoral season is going to be very terrible if we are not careful. And tensions are rising. I admit, tensions are rising gradually. So we have to look at this holistically. We have to be able to pinpoint one or two things out of it and look at means to ensure we channel our course for solutions and resolutions in the future. To discuss with us today, we have an enthusiast, a political enthusiast. He's a politician too, actually. He's an analyst. He's a social commentator in the person of Shina Daniels. Many knows him as Kalakuta. Welcome to the show, sir.
My pleasure.
Welcome to the show, sir.
My pleasure.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good to have you, actually. I was trying to ask you one day that where did you get the Kalakuta tag from in the actual sense?
Well, it's a very wide and a compound expression. Yeah, that is diplomatically associated with coming up to have your freedom. And it is also the struggles of forefathers, particularly Fela Anikulapo Kuti. We feel is acting in the right direction, but he was unable to fulfill that mission. So prayerfully and hopefully some of us who have this kind of the same belief with this idea, then we can also, do it in the right direction. I feel there are some mistakes he had in his own time, but those mistakes, we should not venture into those mistakes too. So then, in order to make that thing alive, then we can bring back the name as
Kalakuta.
Yeah.
But then,
Wow.
You are a political savvy person, going straight to the discussion today. Now, what's your comment on Nigeria's current democracy? I know last week we also celebrated the Democracy Day, but modern democracy in Nigeria, do you think to a very large extent it's a safe space as we speak when it comes to how it's been characterized by a whole bunch of hate, a whole bunch of religious bigotry, ethnocentrism, tribalism, and the kind of disunity we are experiencing today?
Well, we'll all agree that Nigeria is a sovereign state, a nation of our own, and we have attained that democratic system since, I guess, the Second Republic in 1999. Or is it the third?
The third. If you actually the third, yeah, it's the
probably.
third, actually.
Yeah. So we are expected to grow up beyond all these highlighted challenges. But excuse me, as it stands, Nigerians generally are a very wonderful and unique group of people. Yeah. If you are not sensitive enough, if you are not reasonable, if you are not wise, you cannot lead them. And in leading them, you need patience. In fact, you have to be an embodiment of virtue, glued by divine vision. So if you are not a visionary, you cannot lead Nigeria. Yeah, I still agree that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu right now, who is steering the wheel, is a visionary. Because all his policies, I feel they are heading towards a particular bearing. which we are expecting. Yeah,
something
good results. I'm so confident because he's a civilized president, and all his policies, they are all aimed at reformation, bringing new things. If they are not happening now, in the coming moments, it will come up, and thereafter Nigerians will begin to enjoy the benefits of all these sacrifices and tasks is imputing into the system. Just like Moses, if you are not patient enough as a leader, you go astray. Yeah. So, but Moses during those times, he made a mistake while he was heading towards the promised land. I guess he was disconnected from the vision he had by the emotions of the followers, shouting, "We are hungry, we want to do this, we want to do that." But of course, he was angry. We were thirsty. He had to just hit the rod on the rock. And that happens to be the Rock of Ages. So he did that event, his hunger on that particular, which is not supposed to be so. That is impatience. Yeah. So, but now, in Tinubu's case, if you hear a name, in our circle, we call him Baba Ashake. That is Babati Ugbon Konkon. Yeah, he was ready, prepared to lead this country. If you see the charisma on him, you know. And he has the quality, he's qualified. Wow. He's qualified beyond words. Yes, you know, you see it in him. He acts, he's trying, he's striving. Nigeria has been enmeshed in a very deeper quagmire. So we are only hoping for somebody like President Tinubu and God to help us lift this nation out of what we've been deep in.
But then, do you think that, now, aside from that, I was trying to pinpoint it majorly into the democratic settings now. Let's leave the leaders away.
Okay.
The problem, I don't have problems with the leaders, actually, because to a very large extent, I know, okay, fine, everybody has his own task, everybody has what they can do for their own country. Leader-wise, I feel no matter what you're going to bring to the system of Nigeria today, they have their plans.
Yeah.
To you, like to your perception, Tinubu is good for Nigeria. To others' perception, it's not good for Nigeria. But we used to know Nigeria of before that as you love Tinubu, maybe another person doesn't like Tinubu and maybe prefers Obi, like 2023 election, and another person prefers Atiku. You get? It never used to be a problem that will affect our relationships. To a point that we could all be friends and talk about it over a bottle of, beer or something, and after that we are good to go. We just go our homes. If that person fails, if that person succeeds, it doesn't still count. But we saw elections of the last 3, most especially the last elections. It got to a point we got people blocking each other because of political choices. Now, and it never used to be like that in the Nigerian democracy space. In the democracy space, we could have differences and still be friends. Even the politicians are friends.
Yes.
Despite the elections, you still see them come out, greet each other, play with each other, talk to each other sometimes. But the people kill themselves, fight themselves dirty because of this political system. Now, how do you feel about how we are going when it comes to the way citizens react to their political choices?
Well, I feel that earlier I said Nigeria, we are a blessed nation. And the only challenge we have is we are just being emotional. Yeah. And you see, I don't want to talk ill of the nation. Yeah. But I know that something is most, these are the things that are so obvious in Nigerian political system. The hatred, like you said, tribalism, and campaign of calumny, and bigotry,
yeah.
and all sort of deficiencies like that. Because we have tribes, 3, majorly.
Majorly 3, yeah.
Yeah. And these tribes, the pioneer, the first set of persons who led the struggle of these 3 tribes, the first people, they have the foundation of the mindset in bringing Nigeria together to form a democratic system is not united. It was not united. Yeah. So they the eastern part of the country came with their interest and mindset.
Yeah.
The western part of the country also came, same as north. Now, coming up with these things on the table, it is easier for us to have somebody who is much more reasonable and see far ahead to be able to combine all this our interest with dynamism and bring it together as one, without you having problem with his opinion, either you or myself. And that is why it will be difficult for us to trust ourselves. Yes, over a time, there was never a time, like you said from you, there was never a time there isn't something like hate speech, bigotry and all that. It has always been there. People can block you. People burnt houses because of choices and interest. Yes, I've witnessed sometimes ago. And now in this, yes, I witnessed people burn people's houses because of interest. In the same ethnic environment.
Wow.
Yes. How do you see that? And not to talk of somebody from the eastern, somebody from the northern. They will do worst. So, but the problem is, Nigerians are highly selfish people. Yes, I have discovered that. But except they have a particular interest that is being discussed on the table, that's when they can calm down to hear your view. Yes, but if their interest is not there, it's not possible. So, but for now, this present dispensation will keep struggling until we have a leader who has this vision to unite the three ethnic groups without having problems. So it takes wisdom and the grace of God. Yeah, but for now, we are still struggling.
Okay, speaking of the tribalism, because what happened at the Benue State of recent, and I've heard so many people commenting that, oh, let's just go our separate ways. Oh, the northern people should go to their separate way, the southern people, then the west, you understand. And we're talking about tribalism now, and you are saying that from your own perspective, that we are only hoping for a leader that will be able to put us all together with our vision. Do you, from your perspective, do you think that we should go our separate ways?
Well, regardless of what is happening, sometimes ago I said I walked through the northern part, I realized Nigeria is too big for somebody to control. Yeah. And however, we are a nation that God has planned for, the way I feel.
Okay.
But we have to go through some certain level of challenges before we get there. Now, considering this issue of killings in the Benue, killings somewhere and all that, you cannot rule out those conditions as a nation. That's the truth. And those conditions are meant to be addressed and tackled with sincere approach. Now, take for instance, you are a leader of a home. Take for instance a breadwinner, a father, and you are expected to pay your children tuition fee, and then you're working, you're earning, and even after you receive your salary, you still find difficult paying your children tuition fee. Are you responsible as a person? Are you reasonable? No.
Despite the effort.
Yes. Now, each state in Nigeria is entitled to security votes and fund to support their security architecture or apparatus in wherever boundary lines they find themselves exist. Now, if this is difficult for the state to achieve this, then automatically the person in charge is not responsible. Every month, monthly allocation for security votes comes in more than $1 billion, more than, if I'm not mistaken.
More than 2 billion actually.
If I'm not mistaken. If 2 billion monthly cannot solve your security problem, then resign as a governor, then go and do something else.
But
considering
Nigeria will never resign.
That is
head of leaders who just
that is because I said they are the most selfish people and irrational. It is so bad for a governor of a state. I'm not saying they might not be trying as governors. I'm not ruling out that fact, but they still have to do more. It is insanity. It is unheard. It is unspeakable.
Okay.
Yeah, for something like that to happen, even just take for instance myself as a person. A very straightforward and diligent person. Don't joke with my job. After job we play. So if I were to be a governor of a state, so my responsibility is to tell the commissioner of the police in charge of the security, excuse me, are you here to work or you are here to make money? Let me know. I will interview you, because if I am to admit you as the commissioner of police in my state, I would interrogate you. I would interview you clearly, privately, to understand your motive. And if I see from your content that you're not giving me communication, you are not going to work or serve in my state, I'd rather ask for another person. So it is an effort that should be aimed at achieving the security objectives.
Okay.
Yeah. Towards saving the lives and property of people under you. That is altruism. The welfareism of the people should be the priority. Yeah, not you. You are always serving there as the subject. But the capacity you have in your head is the responsibility of that office. You swore to a constitution. You swore to an oath. So what is happening if you're failing? Then automatically the oath will work against you. Yeah, the constitution will work against you.
But then looking at it, if we talk about issues of security as well, the way you talked about it as well. Me, personally, I was even expecting the presidency to even sack a whole lot of people. The presidency themselves, because I know he still has more authority. It's one of the exclusive list of the presidency and all that. But then I observed that, looking at this issue, because it's part of why I wanted to talk more about this issue of democracy and all that. From personal investigations, secret investigations, there are a lot of discovery that many of the insecurities we are experiencing in the country, even the CDS, that's the Chief of Defense Staff, he made the same statement, I think that was yesterday, about the issues in Benue and some other parts of the country. Sometimes politics plays a huge role in how these things happen. You begin to hear it's just a sabotage. Either from sometimes even from within your own party, just to sabotage you, or from the opposition, some parts of them to just sabotage and make sure that they have points to score, to just make people realize that this person is not deserving of being in that position. Now, my question here is, why do you think many times people, all in the name of politics, goes any length just to score cheap points to ensure they look like people that are very okay? And looking at this, your analogy too, do you think leaders of either states, maybe the presidency, in light of that, should look towards either resigning when they can't meet up with their usual standards? Because I feel once you get to that point, I feel the way we practice our democracy is such that you should already know automatically that once you get to that point, whether within your party or outside your party, you have lots of people that their major wish is for you to fail. So they will do, aside from the fact that we still have, like you talked about, tribes in Nigeria, we still have there are some states that, like if you go to the Middle Belt generally, we know many states in the Middle Belt, some of the states in the Middle Belt, we have states, the name, but internally, many tribes are in that state, and many of these tribes are warring tribes. When I mean warring tribes, if they leave state issue out of it and they remove constitution, they will pick guns and bullets and face each other and kill each other, because from history they have always been fighting against each other, but because of they share the same location, they've come under one government. Now, so I feel anybody that goes there should automatically know that I'm going to experience this. So if despite knowing this fully and you are still not able to achieve your duty, don't you think resigning too should be
a part of
strong option? How do we even get here in politics in Nigeria to the point that sabotage now comes with human lives just to score cheap points?
Well, first I would want to correct an impression from your question.
Okay.
I am emphatically ruling out the fact that the president should resign.
Okay.
Yeah. the power, I guess the power, because I've not been there, the power of the GCFR is so sensitive and cannot and must not be abused or misused. At times, Nigerians go for emotion instead of the, let me say, reasonability now. Yeah. You see the issue that is happening in the Middle Belt, a majority of the places in Nigeria. Like I said if we are able to witness the same ethnic group burning the house of his neighbor because of the choice of candidacy,
Yeah.
then you know what
Definitely what can come up.
that is. Just to tell us that something has hidden deeper into the fabric of this nation, and that is self-concentrated interest. Yeah, no other thing. So, and at that, people can be so desperate to achieve that cheap credit score by going too far, just to prove a point. And whereas the problem started since the inception of the independence. Yeah, when we go back to history, you need to realize Ojukwu did this, Akintola did this,
yeah.
even did to Awolowo. Awolowo did this,
Azikwe did that.
Azikwe did that, Aguiyi-Ironsi, blah blah blah, and all of that. Now you realize that Nigeria, we only need grace to come up with a level of being our brother's keeper, understanding civility and politics better. In fact, we need, let me say, I am recommending a national orientation for all the citizens of this country.
But we have an agency for that.
It's just by name, it's not functioning.
Why do we even have all those agencies and they are not working?
Yeah, it is because there are so many things on the table of Mr. President now. If you agree with me.
Yeah, definitely.
Sensitive things. So you don't still expect him to feel that addressing the part of the agency must be his priority on that particular table where he has a lot of sensitive issues to address. So we only need ourselves to be responsible for ourselves. That is the only way we can achieve this, is when we have an atmosphere or a template for national orientation, for all citizens to realize that we are all Nigerians, regardless of your ethnic group, regardless of your tribe or wherever you're coming from. If you have the mindset, then for instance, you can't like the United States now, average citizen, according to what we've been hearing, that when they wake up, they say, God bless America. But now, even if you encourage your fellow sibling, blood brother, that won't you wake up and say, God bless Nigeria? It means you have touched, in fact, you have added salt to his injury. You'll be like, he or she will be like, are you crazy? You understand? But then, with that mindset, does that solve anything? And it doesn't change anything. Yeah. So unless we begin to get to a point where we allow spiritual intervention and intercession to work on this country, of course, we need physical inputs too.
A lot of things going.
Yeah. But as of this instance, it's beyond the physicality of the governance to make a change easily now. There's no magic anyway. There must be some input. It is natural principle. There must be some input to expect an output. So, but I feel what is expected of our citizen is to embrace this situation, to admit new education. And that education is living just and living right in order to promote the unity of this nation. That's just it.
I wish many could learn that actually, but first we'll make them learn from Go Start. After Go Start, we'll come back straight to this discussion, so please stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the show. If just joined us, it's still Daybreak Africa, and yes, it's time to go straight back to our discussion. I hope you enjoyed Go Start. Actually, I hope you're going to do something what you learned from Go Start. That is in the business aspects and the economics aspect. But then let's go back to our discussion. We've been discussing about Nigeria's modern democracy, the politics of hate, tribalism, religious bigotry, and disunity. Now, our national anthem will say, okay, that was the former national anthem actually. No, the current one said, Nigeria we hail thee, our open native land, though tribes and tongues may differ, in brotherhood we stand. That's what this one is saying actually. Now, though tribes and tongues may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Now, when we talk about tribes and tongues, I think the song doesn't really emphasize so much how tribes and tongues differ. When it comes to tribes and tongues different in Nigeria, dare not go to Akoko, dare not go to dare not go to Plateau, because you're going to know that tribes and tongues they really differ. Even Benue, they differ extremely in the actual sense, because there are lots of languages in those areas. Kogito as well, though with their dramas and all that. Now, we have extremely multiple languages, multiple differences. And someone made a statement recently. I said, the kind of democracy we practice here shouldn't be the one we should be practicing, that we should find the means of another form of democracy that, or not even democracy, governmental system that will fit us and at least represent. Because someone made an argument then, even though I don't think I should make the argument here actually, but he said something that was like, he doesn't know why some tribes that are put in the place of the major tribe are even in the major tribes, because places like the Benin Empire was a trending empire even before. That was in a pre-colonial era. Talked about a whole lot of empires in Africa, and now asked about some of the, you understand. So he said, to make things fair, because if any tribe is claiming that it's my turn to be president, it's my turn to be president, it's my turn to be president, we own Nigeria, they should understand that Nigeria belongs to over 700 tribes that can also claim that Nigeria belongs to them, and they have rights to it as well. So the person talked about the fact that why not let us create a system of government. And they talked about system of government like the one we were using at independence, Republican. Or maybe we go back to things like the system the United Kingdom is using, which is more representative of even the minority. Do you think it's making sense and it's going to be more representative of what the diversity the country is experiencing? Because many have come out to say the current federalism we practice is not even actual federalism. It's more like the presidential system of government, or more like a unitary kind of government, which makes the central extremely powerful. That if that is done to a very large extent, we have a bit of more peace. Now, do you think the structure of governance, or what people would term as restructuring, is very important to change?
Yes, actually, I would agree to that, because I feel restructuring, well, though the first thing I notice is from the question, will that new system of government to be induced, will that change the mindset of Nigerians? Apparently no. Regardless of whatever happens, even if you place, let me not use Jesus Christ now, even if you place the most holiest person in Nigeria, entrust them with power and certain things, you will notice the discrepancy, and it will be more obvious. Except somebody who is more reasonable and considerate and even have the fear of the Lord. That's when you can see a smooth system. Now, decentralization of power, I support that. Yeah, because then if we practice what we did in those periods during those Awolowo and Co, and they have the Southwest
Southern region, Western region,
Premier,
Eastern region,
sorry, and all that. Yeah, so things were it's brought out development. At that particular moment, we were seeing so many things. At least people were saying Nigeria was moving forward and all that and all that. So, but now, if we are to go about that, if we are to go about bringing or inducing new system now, it will still help. Yes, because the level of corruption in Nigeria has gone beyond repair. That's going beyond limits. You see the younger generations now coming up with a different mindset. So if the younger generations are having different mindsets, the present generations are having different vision. So how do you align in that to ensure that the new system of governance will be suitable for everybody? No. And I can only recommend the solution as of this moment. Is either we seek better options,
like,
yeah, when it comes to, I mean, I don't want to use administration or I don't want to use people now this time around. I feel better option in the sense that it's not as if the president is not going to act. He has appointed people, he has people under him
that are working for doing his bidding.
And you don't expect him to come up and start whipping them into actions. It's not possible. So, but I feel the president can still do better by looking down. There are a lot of things that are still very wrong with the system presently. Yeah, I might not be obligated to state those things here because I belong to the presidency, to the APC. Yeah, that's my party philosophy.
So definitely there are some things you won't want to touch.
No, yeah, it is because majority, if I go into those angle, I may not have solid facts to cement my point. So that's why I don't go there. So, but the better options I feel is after the president. If the president sees that Nigeria is not going to take a shit because he has committed his efforts now trying to put things in order, and if he knows that he cannot trust either the vice president or the next president that is coming on board, I will agree and I plead with the president to organize a room for restructuring, then tell everybody to your tent, O Israel.
Wow.
The only person I can trust right now is either the president, the present president, or Barrister Adewale. I can still welcome his opinion. I like his personality,
ideologies,
and I believe his ideology. I might not have known deeper things about him though, but from the distance, few things I can say is reasonable, is intelligent, he has all the qualities to lead this country. But as of this moment, by the version of the political template on ground, it's still not his turn. Yeah, but if he has to get there, he needs to go through a path. Yeah, I'm only trying to use this as a point of contact for him, but I feel if he still finds it difficult to realize there's a path towards that vision, it's going to take a very long process. Yeah. Politics entails that you oblige by the associated principles. Yeah. If you cannot beat them,
join them.
You join them. If you have a vision, why joining them? The fact that Moses was living in Egypt in the palace
doesn't mean he shared
doesn't change him. Yeah, doesn't make him an Egyptian and does not change his mindset. He had a vision and he achieved the vision by going through wise ways, reasonable ways, right? And so it is also applicable. Or else, if you don't embrace those principles, I wish the dream comes so fast.
But then let's talk about some of the triggers that is causing most of this hate speech, most of this religious bigotry, most of this. I remember as a 2013, 2014,
okay,
as a very young child. I wasn't really a young child then. I was my teens, my teen years, and all that. Was there in my teens? I was already 20. In that particular era, I was just seated in a particular ministry, and someone brought a video. Now, not even a video, an audio recording, bastardizing a particular political party using religious means, talking about the fact that the person coming in wants to Islamize the country. Another came as well after that, and I was shocked. At a particular time, I wanted to meet my religious leader to tell him, because then I was in my 20s. I wanted to tell him then that, sir, why did you permit such? You know vividly well that at the end of the day, it's going to have harsh effects, because when it comes to the religious sects, people are very emotional in that aspect. Same with tribes. As a young chap, I've seen people of a different tribe already cursing the personality who was the president. I think that was the period when Goodluck Jonathan was president, was already cursing the personal and teaching their children to curse him already. That he belongs to this particular tribe, don't ever. And you would not believe that I've talked about two agents of socialization here. The first agent of socialization, the family, parents telling their children this. The second agent of socialization, the church, permits, or let's say religious settings, permitting such kind of message on the pulpit. Then we go to the media, especially the social media, which is the one that is not, let me even ask, let's even leave the other two. Do you think social media should be regulated? Because social media seems to be the hub right now of those things. If you go on social media, I can tell you 2023 election was a mess. Obedient, articulate, Baptists, it was terrible. It was a total mess. People blocked themselves, close friends. I don't know if couples separated because of this. It was extremely terrible. Immediately after the presidential election, it disintegrated into tribal wars, where the Igbos are fighting the Yorubas are fighting till today. Till this morning, I still saw posts relating to that. The North insulting the South insulting the North. Terrible. Now, do you think social media should be regulated, or let's say banned?
Social media, it's an educative platform. So going by that area of restriction is not advisable. It is even illiteracy. So no one should even think in that bearing. However, the only major thing, I feel language barrier is one of the problems we have. Yeah. Then majority of our people,
English should be our lingua franca.
Yes, English is our
lingua franca.
Yes, it's our official language in Nigeria.
Yes, that is what we grew up to know. But deeper down within our hearts, we know that there are so many things happening by the issue of languages. It is miscommunication, misunderstanding, and in fact, Nigerians happens to be the highest level of people that practice hypocrisy as a private religion. Yes, that's the truth. Somebody said, let us go and fight. Our governor is doing this, is doing that. The first question that will come to my mind as a reasonable person now is, when the governor was elected and sworn in, was I a member of that particular close circle who was inaugurated? No. Now, when the governor receives his monthly salary, will I be part of those that are sharing the dividends?
No.
No. Understand where I'm heading to?
Okay.
Now, those things are not what I can actually benefit directly. So somebody now say, oh yeah, Shina, Calcutta, come. Onigba, the governor is doing this, the governor, let's go and
Protests.
Let's go and protest or do otherwise. First thing I would conclude that the person is hopeless. He has no life. Yes.
Well, hopeless is a right. Protest is a right, actually.
Protest is never a right in Nigeria.
Really?
Yes. We've not gotten to that point. That is why you see Nigerians misbehaving. That's why we can easily pinpoint hatred, hate speech, tribalism, and all that. Nigerians we are not mature yet, even for independence.
Wow.
That's the truth.
This is the first time
we are hearing that.
Nigerians are not mature. In fact, we are not mature for independence. That's the truth as a nation. Because when we were supposed to live development, living in development, when we were supposed to embrace that developmental template for Nigeria to be much developed and, take off eyes or our mindset from those petty crumbs that we see from different sector of natural resources, the fuel, all that, blah, blah. If the founding leaders, our independent leaders, if they had allowed the white to raise a standard a little bit even after 1960.
But there was more damage already with them.
You said?
I'm getting your perspective.
If they had given them the space to create that template for developmental ideas and skills, and now the foundation is already made, and now the civilization begins to go through that process of development. But our founding leaders, because of their selfish reason and obscurity, they feel these people, that's the way they think. Their thought was these people are only hitting us, they are hitting up our right, they are enslaving us. It's not supposed to be we have our right, we want to do this ourselves. However, forgetting the fact that some people might not actually have the same mindset
as they do.
Speaking about protests, I believe in expressing yourself as a citizen. You were saying the other time that protest is never our right in Nigeria. Well, but I believe that as Nigerians or as citizens of a country, you have the right to express yourself. But I've seen situations whereby, especially in my community, I remember during NSAS, the protest was to NSAS, right? You receive the boys in the particular community or a street, they will stop the road for the bikemen to pass. They will not start collecting money from them. It's just like we poor extorting ourselves. That is not the aim of the protest. I think that should be corrected.
Even the food we were eating on the protest ground was, people had jobs to do, so definitely.
Do you now see boys collecting money from bikemen, from taxis, from just to extort them, all in the name of protest. I feel like that should be corrected about protest, but not now telling them not to express themselves. I did not support that.
The best way a citizen should express his or herself is through his or her representative.
Okay.
And the representatives can only do that on either the upper floor of the chamber of the House of Senate, or the House of Reps, or the House of Assembly and the states at the state level. Now, for a common citizen to go out there and start exposing himself or herself in a country like this, it's not advisable, it's not healthy. So I don't encourage people to go out and protest. You know how many victims of circumstances, victims, even up till tomorrow, the numbers are still out there. We don't have accurate figures. So now, you expect me to have a son as of the present situation in this country, and he said, "Oh, daddy, something is happening, I want to go and protest." It's not possible.
But then, what do you think would have been a better approach to announce our grievances to our leaders? Because definitely, the truth is, no matter what, even if you say protest is not the right, we don't have to come out. Though I saw Very Dark Man talking about it recently in Benue, that this kind of protest is not the right way.
It's not
he was
the
talking
right
about
way.
it in Benue. In Benue, he told them that we need to adopt new strategies, which is, from your own perception, if you don't want people to go out on the street, how then do you think is best for them to make their... Because we must not deny the fact that in Nigeria, right, yes, you from your perception, that's your perception, that we are not mature enough for even independence. I used to have the ideology a long time ago. I've changed that because I feel no matter what happens, the Britons, our colonial masters, there are still some things they don't want us to see. There are still many things they hid from us because of their own selfish gains. They are fighting. So just like selfish man against the selfish man, trying to get gains and all that. So that's why I just said it's best we stood alone. But then at the end of the day, we must not also deny the fact that we have the generation that at least has gone through school, knows a whole lot of things, and sees what our counterparts are doing on the outside. And understandably, they want the best for themselves too as well. Maybe that is why many are over-emotional about the kind of person they want to be at the top. okay, I want this kind of person because I feel he shares my ideology. So it's a battle of ideologies. Many don't just know how to go about it. Maybe that is why we're having this toxicity in our modern democracy. But then what do you think would have been the right approach to make your grievances known? Okay, fine, you are there in power now. You are the local government chairman. From what I saw on the news, you received 531 million as your FAC allocated to you for my locality.
And I am not seeing anything.
I did not see a single thing you did. What's happening? So how do you think would have been the best approach to this? Should we go by the African tradition of Daddy Emma Binusa, Ekarosa? With all
due respect, sir.
With all due respect, sir. You know the way Nigerian youths go about things with the Gen Z vibe. But what would you have thought should have been the better approach if you don't want us to go on the streets to talk?
Okay, that's fine. First, I want to ask you, in order to help you see if you justify your view.
Okay.
Somebody who is a governor, sometimes ago was sick, and the next thing is he boarded a flight to either Paris for medical
treatment.
What's it? Do you feel that kind of person is civilized or matured enough?
Or fit enough?
Or fit enough?
It's not.
So even lead a state?
It's not fit enough.
So when I say we are not matured for our independence, I know what I'm saying. It is Nigerians have not gotten to a point of self-realization to realize that this country is not our property. Ours is just to do our part and go. But people want to die for what is not their business. Okay, for somebody to say, okay, now it's really ruling, you are, because they gave you 500 million, you are exposed to making parts and yet you are not doing. He can implore that 200 million from the 500 million into machineries to come and engage protesters and sit on 2 million. Then do one or two things, probably cover portals or fuel generator with 100 million. And act as if he has done something. And the lives of people who are supposed to be the leader of today or tomorrow are just out there on the street on risk because of protest. No. I feel the best way to address our grievances is through the civilized approach.
Which is?
Social media. Before now, Buhari came up with this stupid idea. In fact, anytime I sit down to ask myself, hate speech, in democracy, Kujora now, there are two parallel lines. In fact, anti-clockwise movements. Why would, in a democratic system, somebody coming up to say, hate speech, what? How? Hate speech, Mr. President, don't be silly. Mr. President, you are stupid. You can be arrested for that. Mr. President, you are this. Why would you do that? You can be arrested because they tag it as hate speech during Buhari's administration. I have not heard anything like that now. In fact, there was a guy who probably misaddressed, who happens to be probably a journalist or something like that, or an activist who misaddressed probably Buhari's wife, and the guy was jailed.
There was one even
placed under the bar and all that.
Jalingo, many of them too as well.
And all that. That one has not protested. He only wrote on.
That was even Shola in the actual sense.
Yeah. Now, imagine somebody going to the extent of protesting. These people, I don't want to say that politicians are desperate, but they are actually. They can go far beyond where you never imagined.
And seems to be the major fuel of this whole toxicity.
Yes. So the best thing is, please, for you to be responsible, don't die. Protect your home. Protect. In fact, the first responsibility of every human being now is to protect yourself, my welfare
and your home.
And myself. Yeah, my welfare is my home. My family, they are my welfare. When they are feeling headache, then the headache belongs to me. So I will not allow or expose them to unnecessary ideology of either protest or agitation. No. I have been there and I have suffered a lot. I happen to be a victim of circumstances when it comes to the issue of protest, blah, blah. No. Unionism, we did all that. I don't want to do that again. Yes, I spent almost 12 years in getting 3 or 4 years certificate. Imagine how, you see the angle I'm coming from.
Yeah, definitely. We experienced that.
Yes.
Student unionism.
And I went through a lot. in the outside world politics, I am a victim. I learned so many things too. So I went through a lot. So now I've realized that, oh, the same is Fela was actually in the business of protesting. Yeah, activism.
Strong one, with music, with everything.
Yes, but eventually, he never fulfilled that objective why he started the... yeah. Look at, what do we call him? Gani Fawemi. He was also an activist. He never attained that vision too. Look at, let's say, Idris Abdulkarim, sometimes films away.
Yeah, he plays around activism, commercial.
Before then, it was Nigeria Jaga Jaga. And for him to have sung Jaga Jaga, we all know the story, yeah.
You mean, we are there.
That person was telling him, Baba Jaga Jaga, or something like that. So, he had to just flee into exile. Yeah, for his life. You imagine those things. So many dramas have it. Even VDM now also.
Multiple times in jail.
But the best way, I feel VDM is working, harrowing hardly in the right direction.
Through the social media.
Yeah, and in the right way. Because I feel his moves are reasonable. So if Nigerians that are endowed with this spirit of activism and all that can actually begin to collaborate from different angles as a kind of network across the country, you know, some of them can be lawyers, some of them and all that. I guess we are heading somewhere. With that alone, we can solve these problems. Because even the government are ready to hear the view of citizens now so that they can be on the right track. Yeah.
Except if the insults are just taken out of it.
Yes.
I think I like your viewpoint. I would have loved to ask more questions, but then Lady has already called us and told us that time is far spent. But then, thanks so much for being a part of this segment.
Thank
really
you
appreciate you. I think I like the note you ended it, at least to a point. I think if we can get it right through proper activism, self-awareness, it's going to get to a point that all of us will begin to discover that we don't really need much of this toxicity against each other. We can always collaborate and work together for the good of the country, which is something many Nigerians actually need to learn out there. Thanks once again, Kalakuta, for this. We really appreciate you. But then it's time to go for sport. After sport, we come back. We take our conclusions on Daybreak Africa to say our goodbyes to well. So stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, it's still Daybreak Africa. I hope you enjoyed sport, and yes, I hope you enjoyed our discussion.
Yes, I really do.
A lot of things were said that somehow I don't know if I should agree with it or should not agree with it actually. But then everybody has their contrasting view. That's why democracy is democracy. I think one of the things that we must kick out is the toxicity. And like he said, I agree with one thing. It's not just recently. It's been happening for years. Like he's talked about his experience of seeing people burn houses,
Imagine
even in their locality, all because of
who puts money together, everything to build a house, and you're burning because it's not supporting your own political person. That's a lot.
That's a lot, actually. I think it's sad if we are still... Though, understandably, we have diversity in Nigeria when it comes to cultures, traditions, and all that. But I feel my own view of everything is, I think we need more education. I think I like the part he ended it on when he was talking about the place of activism, that he likes the pattern VDM is going by. And in those patterns, we can also learn to, the kind of fellowship you have, you can learn to collaborate and educate. If the NOA are not doing their job, I think influencers out there who are activism oriented can also do the job of properly educating people on the right steps to do, on the fact that you has a contrasting view doesn't mean it doesn't like you or it doesn't love the nation. For someone like me, I could like Atiku and feel Atiku is the one that can take Nigeria to the next level. You could like Tinubu like he likes Tinubu and says Tinubu is the next thing after jollof rice, it can make the nation great. Another person can like Obi and say Obi is his own choice. Another person can like Adewale Adebayo, says their choice. But that doesn't mean you should take off the fact that all of us just want a good Nigeria. The way we just see a good Nigeria is just different. So we can woo ourselves together and let our Nigeria look good. But then, it's well, Sha. Because what I've been experiencing, I don't like it. People blocked me because of...
it's just their own way of handling things. It's just their own way.
Well, like you said, Nigerians are funny people, actually. We are
very, very funny.
And not that. And though I love you, with your funniness, actually. Just keep watching Daybreak Africa as we'll meet tomorrow and bring you the exciting part of Daybreak, which happens to do with the weekend. But until we meet tomorrow, my name still remains Ikhonede.
And my name is Miracle Odunayo. Bye.